Welcome back to Musicians Edition. Today we're going to continue looking at our introduction to snare drum, starting with sticks and then talking about grip and then moving into some of the basic stroke types that we're going to use on the snare drum. Let's look at some sticks. So there are kind of three basic categories of snare drum sticks that we're going to talk about, and then it goes into all sorts of complicated places from there, but there are kind of three general classifications that we're going to use to tell the difference between what sticks we're going to want for certain situations. So first up, we're going to look at our biggest and heaviest sticks. These are marching sticks, okay? These are often used for marching snare drum or heavier concert style playing, things like that, where you want to make a lot of sound and you need a lot of durability and a lot of weight in the hand, okay? They tend to be the heaviest of snare drum sticks that we're going to see. In the middle, we have what we call concert style sticks, okay? And these are a little bit smaller than the marching sticks, a little bit bigger than the sticks we're going to look at in a second. They're a lot of times used for concert band, orchestra, things like that. Okay, so that's the concert style snare drum stick. Then last up we have kind of the smallest variety, which are drum set sticks, right? And these you can see are quite a bit skinnier, a little bit lighter than the other two types of sticks. They're also just a little shorter as well, right? And you can see mine are pretty chewed up from hitting cymbals and things like that. One of the reasons why you don't really want to use your nice concert sticks on a drum set is that they'll end up looking like this, right? Now, any of these sticks will work in any situation if you want to just get by, right? But there are a few reasons why you would want to choose one stick or another. Like we mentioned a little bit before, a marching stick is going to be very durable and also create a lot of sound when you need to project outdoors, or you're just really, kind of punishing the stick with the way that you're using it. So these sticks are big and heavy, very durable, and so that's what you're going to want to use in that situation. However, these sticks are probably going to be too heavy to play some of the more intricate patterns that we would want to use on a drum set. And they're probably also a little bit too aggressive for the concert style playing and probably are going to be a little bit overbearing. Maybe not in all situations, but generally speaking, that's going to be the case, right? So your concert sticks, like we said a second ago, you're not going to use them on a drum set because they'll get kind of chewed up and torn up really fast. They also don't really work well in a marching situation because they don't have the kind of weight, again, generally speaking, they don't have the kind of weight necessary to project the amount of sound that you want to move in that situation. But some people do use concert sticks on a drum set. It just kind of depends on your own personal style and feel and what you're comfortable with and how often you want to replace your sticks. Okay, drum set sticks will work fine in concert situations, especially for multiple percussion setups and things like that. They work okay on a concert snare drum, but they don't tend to have as full of a sound as a more concert-oriented stick. They're also going to be quite a bit too small to use in a marching situation. Again, you could get by with it. It would be okay, but they're going to tear up pretty quickly probably, and not going to project as much sound as you are probably going to want in that sort of situation. Okay, so just to recap, we have the big heavy marching sticks, we have the kind of skinnier, a little bit shorter drum set sticks, and we have in the middle concert style sticks. All right, next we're going to take a look at some sticks that are just a little bit different, some that are specialized, some that are for specific situations or specific styles of music or whatever, and some that aren't all that terribly useful and just kind of fun to look at. So first we have my pair of Neil Peart Rush Time Machine sticks. I don't use these all that often. These are made out of oak, so they're quite heavy, even though you can see they're pretty small, but they're made out of a heavier wood. They're cool. They look cool. I have used them a little bit, but they're generally a bit too heavy and aggressive for me. But you can see they're kind of the similar in size to the drum set sticks we used before. That's what these are made for. Not really my personal style, but kind of a cool stick. The next stick I want to show you is a drum set style stick, but you can see the tip of this stick is made out of nylon material, right? Kind of a plasticky type material. You'll see these, and some people like them, some people hate them. I don't personally like to use these all that much, but I did want to show you because they are one that you'll see around. If you try them out, if you like them, great. If you hate them, get in arguments with your friends about it. Why not? But that's the nylon tipped drum set stick there. Next up, we have these kind of funny shaped sticks. I've never really found a great use for these myself. I'm sure somebody has, but I've yet to really ever use them other than to just kind of practice and mess around with. But they have kind of this weird taper at the end, and then they're pretty cylindrical for the rest of the shaft. So that's that. Just kind of interesting. Then we have these. That's kind of a cool idea. I've never really had success with them so much, but they're very, very tiny, and you can see they're kind of meant to make softer, more delicate sounds with their skinny taper as well as a very small bead. So that's a concert style stick that's kind of specialized for softer playing. Okay. And then the last one that we're going to take a look at today, again, there are hundreds of varieties of snare drum sticks, marching sticks, concert style sticks, drum set sticks. These are kind of a bundle of dowel rods that are just tied together here. You'll see different styles of these around. Some are made out of like a nylon material. Some are made out of like a wire brush sort of thing. These are all just to kind of get different sounds, different textures out of your instruments. Sometimes they're used to kind of turn the volume down a little bit if you need to. But kind of interesting to look at. And again, it's just one of those things. If you want to use something like this, you just got to kind of go around and experiment with different things. Find what you like for different situations. All right, now that we've talked about some different types of sticks, let's talk about how to hold these sticks, or what we would call our grip, okay? So the first thing that we need to be concerned about with our grip is what we call our fulcrum, right? Or what you may know from science class is the point at which a teeter-totter kind of rotates, okay? So a fulcrum, right? We're going to form that fulcrum out of our index finger and our thumb, okay? So you want to put your index finger and your thumb perpendicular to each other, kind of in a plus sign shape, right? Where your thumb is pointing one direction, your index finger is pointing another direction, and they're kind of forming an X with each other, right? Or a plus sign. Okay? Now we're just going to use these two fingers just to lightly pinch the stick, right? And I like the visual of trying to catch a ladybug or a lightning bug, right? And when you catch one of those, a firefly, whatever you want to call it, right? When you catch one of those, you want to just hold it firmly enough that it can't fly away, right? But you don't want to squeeze so hard that you crush it, okay? So just lightly pinch the stick, just enough to hold it in your hand, right? As lightly as you can hold it without it falling out, okay? If you happen to be using a Vic Firth stick, the American flag is a good spot to place your thumb. We'll talk about where to position your hand later, but that's a good general starting point with where to place your fulcrum, and then you can kind of adjust from there depending on what the stick feels like in your hand. Okay, so we'll get our fulcrum. We want it somewhere around the balance point of the stick, right? A little behind the balance point. We don't want to go exactly where the stick balances, but a little behind there. Okay, so we'll just pinch there, thumb and index finger. Okay, and then we're just going to let our back fingers kind of fall around the stick, okay? And you can see the stick's just laying in my palm, right? It's not all the way touching my palm. It's just kind of sitting here. My hand's nice and open. And then I'm just going to let these back fingers curl around. They're not squeezing. They're just lightly touching the stick, okay? All right, so when I turn my hand back over, you can see that this part of my hand right here, if I take my stick out, it forms kind of like a mouth, right? Like I was making maybe a shadow puppet or something like that, right? For some reason, to me, this looks like a frog. I'm not really sure why. But think about the mouth of a frog or animal of your choice, and we want to keep that mouth open most of the time, right? What I find is if we let that close, it generally results in tension in our wrist and our forearm and our hands and our fingers, and that makes it more difficult to produce the stroke types that we're going to work on in a second. Okay, so fulcrum, plus sign, right? Somewhere around the American flag if you have one on your stick. If not, just kind of find where the stick kind of balances there. Back fingers are just lightly laying down there. Okay, mouth is open. Very good. Okay, so now we're going to try that in the other hand, right? We'll try the fulcrum. Make that plus sign. Let the fingers kind of fall around, right? Make sure the mouth is open. Now, for the most part, we want to position our palms facing downward, right? We don't have to be real strict about it, right? But in general, we want our palms mostly facing toward the floor and not turned to the side. Now let's talk about, real quick before we start playing the drum, let's talk about how to position this drum. You can see this drum is set up right about the height of where my belt would be, right? And that's usually a pretty good height. It kind of can fluctuate depending on how long your arms, how short your arms are, how tall or short you are. But what you want to do is make sure that it's comfortable, right? If the drum is too high, right, then it's going to cause you to have to lift up high and going to give you a weird angle with your elbow and wrist, right? If the drum is too low, it's going to make you have to reach downward and put your wrist in a funny position before you start playing, right? So you want to put it at a point where your hands can be nice and neutral in their starting point, okay? For most people, that's right around the height of your belt, give or take a few inches, depending on what's comfortable for you. Okay, and then when we take our sticks, we form our grip. Then we're going to form something like a pizza slice on the surface of the drum, right? So we have kind of a triangle shape. You don't want a real skinny little slice of pizza, right? Make sure it's a nice, big, healthy sized one, okay? Now the first stroke type we're going to learn is what we just call a single stroke, right? Or a full stroke. And the reason we call it a full stroke is because our sticks start in this up position, and then it's going to travel all the way down to the surface, and then it's going to bounce all the way back up to where we started, okay? And when we do this, I want you to think about bouncing a basketball on the ground, right? You push the ball down, it hits the ground, it bounces back up, and then you just catch it in time to push it back down again, okay? So when we start with our sticks up, we're just going to push it down, let it bounce, and then follow it back up with our hand and kind of catch it at the top, right? It's just going to look like this. Okay? Now, try to practice in front of a mirror or something and check to see that you are not leaving your sticks down after they hit the surface like this, right? We want to let them bounce all the way back up for right now, okay? So let it bounce all the way back up to the top. The reason for that is if you let the stick bounce all the way back up, then it's ready to play again, right? If you leave it down, then you have to pick it back up in order to push it down again, right? Now down the road, when we start playing some accents and different heights of different stick heights and things like that, then we will use a downstroke from time to time, but we don't want to use it all the time, right? So we want to let the sticks bounce all the way back up to the starting point, okay? And again, that's what we call a full stroke. So try some in your right hand or your strong hand, right? And then every now and then just kind of check your grip. Make sure that your fulcrum is still kind of in that perpendicular shape, right? Your back fingers are just kind of touching the stick, not really doing much, and just letting the stick bounce. Okay, then you can try the same thing in your left hand or your weak hand. Check your grip. All right, make sure that mouth stays open, and then play a few full strokes. See what that feels like? Should be pretty easy, shouldn't take a whole lot of effort, right? You're letting kind of gravity and then the rebound that you get out of the pad do most of the work here. Okay? So now one more little analogy before we put this into an exercise. If you think about knocking on a door with your knuckles, right? That's the kind of motion that we want from our wrist, okay? So one really good way to practice this is to put your knuckles on your practice pad, right? And just lift them up like you're knocking on a door. So you can kind of practice that a little bit, kind of get a feel for that motion. Okay? And now let's grab our sticks and put this into an exercise called 8 on a hand. The reason it's called 8 on a hand is because we're going to play 8 notes on one hand, followed by 8 notes on the other hand. Okay? So we'll take this tempo right here. And here we go. And 1, 2, ready, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Awesome. Very good. So now, what I want you to, one thing I want you to try to notice is that when one hand is playing, the other hand is ready to play, right? Try not to let it kind of wander around or be hanging out down here, right? Or going to get a drink of water, right? Make sure that this hand stays in its position, right? The whole time that this hand is moving, and then vice versa. When this hand's playing, this hand's ready to play, so that when it's this hand's turn, it's ready to go. Okay? So now let's just take this back and forth a few times. We'll just do 8 on one hand, 8 on the other hand. You can start with your dominant hand or your right hand, whatever's comfortable for you. We'll just do 8 and 8, and we'll just go back and forth a few times just to get really comfortable with this and keep the ball bouncing, keep the mouth open, keep the fulcrum there, keep the back fingers of your hands just along for the ride. Okay? Here we go. Alternating hands. 1, 2, ready, and 6, 7, 8. Switch. 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 Good. All right, now let's try it a little bit faster. Same thing, just a little quicker. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, and. Awesome. Kind of check your grip, right? Kind of review that. Your hands might start to kind of do some funny stuff, so just kind of remind them where they need to go. Okay? And then let's take it even faster, okay? A few more times. Here we go. And 1, 2, 3, and. All right, so you're probably noticing your hands are starting to maybe feel warmed up a little bit. They might start to feel just a little bit tired if you're not really used to using those muscles a whole lot, right? And that endurance will come with time, where you'll be able to play much longer durations without really feeling it so much. Next, we're going to play an exercise. Some people call it countdown, right? And we're just going to start with 8 and 8. We'll do that a few times. Then we'll go down to 7 and 7. We'll do that a few times. And then 6 and 6. And we'll continue that all the way down until we play 1 and 1, right? So when we get all the way down to 1 and 1, that'll be what we call alternating strokes, right? Or this hand, this hand, this hand, this hand, this hand, this hand, okay? So let's do 8 I'll let you know when it's time to go to 7, and then 6, and so forth, all the way down to alternating strokes at 1. Okay? And while you're doing this, try to remind yourself not to have any tension in your body, right? If you feel yourself kind of tensing up or maybe shrugging your shoulders or anything like that, just try to let that tension go. Okay? And here we go with the countdown. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And just notice what's happening with your grip. Right? If the mouth is staying open, you got your fulcrum still. Back fingers just along for the ride. Let's go to 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Switch. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Switch. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Left. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Switch. And switch. Switch. One more time. Now 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Switch. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Switch. Switch. 4, 5, 6. Switch. One more time. Now 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One more. 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hands nice and relaxed. Just bouncing a ball. And 3, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Switch, 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 switch. Two. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Couple more. Ready? Ones. 1, 1, 1, 1. Switch, 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 switch. Let's go a little faster. Keep it relaxed. Still just bouncing the ball. And just follow me. We'll speed up just a little. But you want to keep that same motion that we've been using this whole way. A little faster. Keep your grip right where it's at. Right? Check your fulcrum. Keep that mouth open. Hands and body are nice and relaxed. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, and stop. All right, very good. Thank you for joining me today. And next time we will expand this even further and try some new snare drum music. All right, I'll see you next time.